There's nothing in the Quran, there's nothing in the text which actually prohibits dance. I have received threats right from the very beginning. For art, you need to have freedom of speech. Anybody who questions anything is termed a blasphemer. Then you can be killed. A big section of the Hindu community lives around here. This temple is one of the oldest temples in the city. Just for safety and security, they've gated it. Hinduism, Parsis, Christians, they were all part of the city, and it was a city with a lot of diversity. Since 1983, I've been teaching and I've been performing. What I do is to try and create something that we can call our Pakistani classical dance that means something to me, living in this society as a woman in this very patriarchal, very religious atmosphere. Art.
Adab and welcome to our segment of the Mango Lounge. This bold and indeed very beautiful video clip that you just saw is of a formidable lady from Karachi, Pakistan. She is Sheema Kirmani, a classical dancer par excellence, a choreographer, a producer, a director. She is also the founder of an organization called the Tehrik-e-Niswan, a cultural action group that uses theatre to bring about awareness amongst the masses. Awareness of the rights of the minorities, social injustices, and women's rights. She has been at the forefront of art and women activism, and for this reason I have tied today's segment to highlight the role of the art in bringing about a change in mindset that is much needed in our fissured society. Arts like theatre, dance, journalistic art, and film. A little bit about the history as well as the current state of affairs of women activism, as well as an interview later on in the segment with this inspirational mover and shaker, Shima Kirmani. Let's move on, and I'll let the remaining segments bring you some facts and some perspectives. Pakistan started out as a liberal Islamic country. Out of its 74 years of existence, it has seen 40 years of dictatorship. Religious conservatism and indoctrination of religion in the constitution of the country during the military regime of General Zia has had, to say the least, a crippling effect on freedom of speech and expression and on women and minority rights.
With a minimum program where we brought together the maximum number of voices. And so we eventually ended up starting what was the Women's Action Forum.
We have a strange system of governance, even as far as justice system is concerned. There are certain parts of the country where the writ of the ordinary courts does not extend. And secondly, justice is so poorly dispensed in this part of the country, in many parts of the country, that people have decided to take justice to the elders. Which became institutionalized, and now with a new transition to democracy, people are trying to go back to a justice system which unfortunately is very much discredited.
For a country steeped in religious conservatism and tribalism, where the mentality for decades has been to use either religion or social norms to derogate women's rights, it is not surprising to see the deplorable state of affairs with regards to women's rights and the need for implementation of legislative reforms.
We have had a lot of legislation in the past few years to protect women, but we also have to have mechanisms, and we also have to have sound governance to do it, and a judicial system that is less political.
This lady was pregnant During delivery, they did something wrong and she developed a fistula. Now, this is a special condition that women have due to poverty and lack of good maternal health care facilities. When girls are married off at a very young age, when there's forced sex on them. People come from Afghanistan, from Balochistan, all sorts of places, because in this whole region there's no one who's treating this condition. Women are not living to their potential. They're just surviving.
Women suffer the world over, but the degree of injustices, barbarism, and the lack of legal accountability seen in Pakistan commands much to be changed. Demonstrations, marches, organizations like the Women Action Forum, cultural action groups like Tehrik-e-Niswan, led by Shima Kirmani, has been instrumental in bringing about this awareness. Marches and demonstrations have continued through the decades since then. In addition, media, film, theatre, journalistic writings, and journalistic art has kept the pressure on our discredited legal system, our policymakers, as well as religious clerics.
For me, there is a direct relationship between dance and liberation. When a woman stands on stage to dance, what she's saying is, here I am. I'm not ashamed of my body. I am confident. And I do not fear you.
You are able to use your art form to create change. Walking the red carpet and eventually winning made the world sit up and think about the fact that women in Pakistan are raising their voices, asking difficult questions, and are not afraid to be part of the change that is taking place in the country.
This week, the Pakistani Prime Minister has said that he will change the law on honor killing after watching this film. That is the power of film.
A change is not easy, and change has certainly been seen.
I'm Hina Jilani. I'm a lawyer practicing in the Supreme Court of Pakistan. I'm also a human rights activist. I started my professional career in the end of the 70s. This is a period during which women's rights movement struggled. I remember I went to jail just because of my struggle for women's rights. Many like me did too, and several times during the 80s. In 88, Pakistan elected a woman as their prime minister. And I can also say that not only was a woman elected, that particular election showed you how much of an impression this movement had made. Every political party that contested that election after an 11-year period of repression had to have a women's rights program in their manifestos. So it became such an important issue. So people who tell me that, we've seen you for 30 years holding placards down with discrimination against women, standing on the roadside protesting, and all you've gained is weight. I tell them, look, that's not all I've gained. Look at the lives of women today. As far as women's rights is concerned, I think we have seen a sea change. The fact that you have seen brave people like Malala and other brave women who have fought for decades now against inequality, young people raising their voices, more women coming out both in political fields and in every other field. I think we are changing, but the resistance is very militant. And we, despite all the fears, despite all the threats, women have continued to lead the movement for progress, for equality, for human rights.
This is not a time for complacency. Pakistan is proud of activist groups like Tehrik-e-Niswan, led by Shima Kirmani, the Women's Action Forum, leading the Aurat March, exemplary activists like Asma Jahangir, Hina Jilani, and women of courage like Malala Yousafzai and Sharmeen Chinoy, who have dared to defy the norms and who have questioned the establishment. Let us be positive. Pakistan has a robust population of men and women that belong to a liberal civil segment of society who continue to keep the struggle alive. Backlash from conservatives who made an attempt to put down the recent Aurat March with claims that it is an elitist movement was a lowbrow attempt that cannot invalidate the underlying issues of abuse and inequality that stare us boldly in our face. It is men and women, particularly from an educated and economically independent strata of society, that are able to give a voice to their less fortunate sisters needing strength and direction. Women activism is about the underprivileged communities, women from lower socioeconomic neighborhoods, the underserved and rural areas who struggle in their homes and outside.
फिर मैं घर से चोरी भागी फिर मैं शीमा किरमानी के पास गई। उसको मैंने कहा कि मुझे जो है ना इस तरह से वो रोक टोक करते, मुझे मारते। बस शीमा किरमानी ये है कि उसने मेरा कभी साथ नहीं छोड़ा। शीमा जी हमें समझाती थी कि आप अपनी ज़िंदगी का मतलब इस तरह से जिएं, मैं खुद ज़रा जीने की कोशिश क्यों ना करूं।
I am proud to bring to you today a woman who exemplifies courage and bravery in the face of adversity. A one-man army, a woman who has been steadfast in her fight for injustices and discrimination against the vulnerable, the women, minorities, the underserved people of the land. She has given me and hundreds of students one of the biggest gifts of life. She has taught me dance. She was an inspirational teacher who has taught me for my entire teenage years. An exemplary dancer who has used her art as a means to promote awareness amongst the people, awareness of our cultural heritage of dance, and awareness of social injustices that we are plagued with. She is none other than Shima Kirmani, and she is here with us today. Sheema ji, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. And it's a pleasure to be interviewed by you, and as you said, an ex-student. And I remember the days that you've in fact performed also in some of my shows.
Yes, and performance and wonderful, very special experiences. Thank you so much. Sheema ji, you were born in Rawalpindi in a family that did not partake in the performing arts. Your father was a brigadier in the army. You studied at the convent of Jesus and Mary in Karachi. What was it like learning dance in the 60s in Pakistan?
In the 60s, it was like, I think the first thing one should say is there was not something extraordinary. It was like just something that was done. You know, there were so many students going to the Ghanshams to study dance, to study music, to study yoga. And it was like just something that was happening to a lot of middle class young people who were going and learning all these art forms. So it was not an extraordinary thing to be doing, which is what it became later on. You know what I mean? That later on it became so we learn dance, we learn classical dance. You know, like, I mean, now I see my students, they find it very difficult to explain to their colleagues, to their friends, why they're doing classical dance. But for us, it was a normal thing. Oh. I mean, it was part of things that one was doing as a young person. One was learning classical music, one was learning classical dance. So it was just something very ordinary to be doing. It wasn't thought of as something weird.
यानी वो तहजीब का हिस्सा समझा जाता था और लोग अपने बच्चों को भेजते थे.
It was part of Yes, it was like part of one's education, one would say. कि school जा रहे हैं, उसके बाद dance सीख रहे हैं, फिर गाना सीख रहे हैं, फिर सितार. So all these things were part of your the process of education, the process of upbringing.
You pursued an art degree from London. You went to India on an ICCR scholarship and studied Bharatanatyam from the very famous Leela Samson. You learned Kathak from Ram Mohan Ji. You learned Odissi from the well-renowned Aloka Panikar. You returned to Pakistan to find that Zia's regime and the Islamization agenda had caused dancers to flee from the country. What was it like to teach and to dance at the peak of the military regime?
Yes, I think those were very tough times. They were very difficult times. I think what one must remember is that almost all the artists had left. You see, a lot of the artists had left in 1971 when East Pakistan became Bangladesh. So a lot of the artists left at that time. And then 10 years later, because of the of Zia's, as you mentioned, is Islamization policies, all the other artists left, all the dancers had left this country. So it was like I was the only one left, and it was by then it had become a strange thing to be dancing, to be a dancer. It was kind of unusual, and it was targeted. I mean, in those years, I decided that I will not leave Pakistan. Everybody else, all the other dancers, I just felt, why should I? I mean, this is where I belong. This is my land. This is my country. And I choose to do an art form that is not harming anybody, that is not killing anyone, that is not, it's not doing anything negative to anybody, like one is not killing, one is not shooting, one is not doing anything like that. So why should people be against it? And classical dance, as you know, and as I think a lot of your audience will know, is something very deep, very profound. It is not it is not pure entertainment. Of course, it is entertaining because it's so beautiful, but it has so much more than just entertainment, and it is dense, it is profound, it is. It's very elaborate. It's one of the most elaborate dance forms in the world, with its history, with its elaborate meanings to every movement, to every expression. So it's a complete, holistic kind of a subject which trains the human beings who are watching it to rise to another level, to a higher level of aesthetics, basically, and a higher level of perception and higher levels of knowledge and focus and concentration. So it is certainly not titillating, So what should have been banned what should have been banned did not get banned, and what should not have been banned got banned in those years and became a difficult thing. So yes, it was difficult. I would get threats. I would find places to perform. I couldn't advertise my performances, but it was a challenge, and that challenge made it that much more exciting, to have a performance. And the other thing is that I felt so supported by the people of this country. I felt so, there was so much solidarity. Every time I had a performance, that people would want to come and watch, because it became like an act of resistance. Dance became a symbol of resistance to the dictatorship in a sense.
I mean, Pakistan definitely has a liberal civil society and a decent segment of people who belong to that. And clearly their, support has allowed art to even survive.
Absolutely. I have always maintained that the public in Pakistan, they are not against these art forms. As you know, I perform in all kinds of situations, in all kinds of premises, in conferences, in workers' conferences, in workers' assemblies, in Hari, the peasants' corps. So, I mean, whereas in the ordinary public of this country, not just the educated classes, but everybody, the ordinary public comes to these kind of events. And those people have never once said, oh, but this dance is against our culture or against our religion. So, I mean, I've always maintained that the public of this country, they are not fundamentalists. They don't want fundamentalism. They want a good life. They want to be happy. They want to be comfortable. They want to have their children, their girls educated. They want to live what every citizen wants, a good, comfortable, happy life. And they are not fundamentalist at heart.
I mean, I know because you've performed at, a peasant village in Bhitsha with almost 3,000 people, peasants there, and you've done the dhamal at the crowded Seven Sharif. You've never felt as a woman dancing in those crowds in any way threatened, and people have received you well?
Yes, extremely well. I've never felt threatened by them. And there's never been any reason to be threatened because they've always been very welcoming. They've been very welcoming with open arms. And I mean, I would say that people love to dance and sing themselves. Who doesn't love to dance? You need an occasion just to start singing and dancing, whether it's a wedding or a birth of a child or whatever. So, and I think this has been our culture. When you don't give them music to hear, I mean, imagine what kind of society that is going to be. It's a dead society where there's no dance and there's no music. There's no beauty then, in that society. There's no life, in fact.
There's no expression, and without expression, how can you feel fulfilled? Sheema-ji, in the Pakistani society, dancers remain tainted by the assumption that they also dabble in prostitution.
Yes.
I believe this comes largely from the fact that they just haven't even been exposed to the classical dance form. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, unfortunately, I would say, I have also been doing research on all of this, and I feel that the Muslim middle class has felt that dance is associated with women who are doing sex work, selling their body. And they are not aware of what classical dance is. Muslim culture was because of the the aspect of how dance was looked at in the time of the Mughals. So it was much patronized. It developed in a lot of ways, but it did move into the courts. And in the courts, you have dance as a form of entertainment, because the emperor is sitting there and he wants to watch something which is entertaining. While the dance that stayed within the precincts of temples or village courtyards, or in the agricultural villages as forms for the peasants, there it continued with its storytelling aspect. And in the courts, it moved a little bit into entertainment aspect. So that's the other reason why Muslim male mind think that dance is only entertaining. And they associate it with male titillation and they associate it with mujra, which is where the dance moved into just the so-called red light areas, etc. So, but there's really the awareness and understanding. The dance is much more than that. I mean, that's one kind of dance. There are all kinds of, each subject has various types of, like you have blue literature, so you have all kinds of dance as well. But when we are talking about dance, we're talking about a much higher form of dance. We're putting it into the classical framework, and the classical framework brings in the whole history of culture, of civilization, right from the time of Mohenjo-daro, where there you find the figure of the dancing figurine and the mother goddess, and and where the status of women was so much higher, where the cities were so civilized and planned and things like that. And then, how everything deteriorated and came down to just a very patriarchal kind of setup.
Sheema ji, I want to take you to, of course, another passion, of yours, with regards to your activism. In 1979, you founded the Tehrik-e-Niswan, which is a cultural action group. You have taken makeshift theater to the common man to highlight, social issues and gender biases and minority prejudices and so on. Can you tell us what you think has been an achievement of this Tehreek? And can you say today that a change can be seen on the horizon?
Yes. So when I started and started talking about women's rights issues, it was considered a strange thing. People would say, what are you talking about? Why are you talking about women's rights? Why do you want to celebrate International Women's Day? But today, come 8th March, not just one city, every city of Pakistan is celebrating International Women's Day. And today, everybody is talking about women's rights issues. So it has taken us these 40 years. When you say that I took theatre to the people, I think this is the achievement. That, we introduced this art to the people, that theatre is a respectable art form in which dance happens, in which singing happens, in which movement happens, in which dialogue happens. And we brought it to the ordinary people, as you said. Now, those people, when they see theatre and they say, oh, so this story happened in my neighborhood, or this story happened to my sister, or this story happened to somebody else in my near where I live. People relate to these things. And when they relate, they realize that, yes, this story means something. Because mostly in our theatre, when we end it, we say that you have the power to change your life. So the purpose of this performance and the purpose of my art over the years became this, that my art became my politics. And what is my politics? That the strength to change lies within us. By us, I mean the people of this country. If we unite, if we decide that we want to change our lives, then we can do it. And the other thing is, what are we doing? We're actually trying to at least, change social values. The values between men and women, the values about relationships, human relationships. How a father behaves with his son or with his daughter, how the mother behaves. So how do these values come about? These values come about through cultural means. No? I mean, it is part of the culture that you don't talk to your parents in a rude way, that you get up and the elder person. This is part of our culture. Now, these cultural values that need to be some of them which are negative, which demean women, they need to be changed. Where they say, oh, it's part of our culture to bury women alive. I mean, we've had parliamentarians who said that. And then in Balochistan, there were these 3 women who were buried alive, and the parliamentarian in parliament said, yeah, it's Balochi culture. So, I mean, we have to change those social values. It's not our culture. These are not our cultures. Even just this abaya that every woman now is wearing. I mean, you go to Karachi University today, every girl is in an abaya. Abaya is not part of our culture. Where was it part of our culture? It is something imported. And it came very late in Pakistan, when people started going to the Middle East and saw the Middle Eastern women and the Saudi Arabian women wearing all of that. So it's not part of subcontinental culture at all. Here, maximum what people would do, like in the villages, put on a chadar and cover themselves, the women, when they went out. And that is so acceptable. But this black abaya is absolutely unacceptable. And this was imposed. This was imposed by Ziaul, and then it became slowly, started coming down. So I think things have changed. Today you have women who say that we are not going to put up with the violence that we face, whether it is violence from the husband within a bad family marriage relationship. Now those girls are saying, well, why should we put up with it? We can live on our own. We can earn our own living. Some of them are earning their own living, are managing their lives themselves. So why should they put up with this violence from anybody? So I think things have changed. I just feel sometimes that we get stuck in this, that we take 2 steps forward, 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, because it's a difficult situation.
Right.
It's not easy. I mean, patriarchy is something that has been around us for so long. It will take a long, long time. But I think things are changing. The fact that we can have Aurat March.
Yes, good.
The very fact that women come out on their own. I mean, we are not going and bringing them out. We're not giving anybody money here, join the march, like some political parties do. They give them biryani, and then you'll get biryani and you'll get a bottle of Pepsi to join the march. No, the women are coming on their own. And it's amazing, Sophia, that young and old, rich and poor, all kinds of women, working women, housewives, all kinds of women have started joining the Aurat March, because they feel that once they become part of this collective, then it gives them strength. It gives them a voice, it gives them the strength to decide what directions to take in their lives.
And I think sitting out here and hearing things in the news, about brutality, cloaked, in religious beliefs or just the sheer, injustices that women are having to suffer in this day and age are absolutely unimaginable. And it is very heartbreaking to hear it out here, because you feel at a loss for not being able to be there and to help out. And then you think that hopefully with the, people like yourself and things like the Aurat March, there will be empowerment and women will learn to speak against and fight against these injustices. And I think particularly...
I just wanted to say that when you're talking that, for those Pakistanis who are outside Pakistan and are concerned about what is happening in Pakistan, I mean, there are a lot of ways they can help. For instance, just support is very important. Support for people like us who are being sort of attacked from all sides, especially at this point when there's this huge Talibanization process already started in Pakistan as well. I mean, obviously, the fallout from Afghanistan is happening. And so I think there's one is solidarity and support, and the other is, for instance, we have been trying to form women's shelter homes, because it's so difficult. A woman who wants to get away has nowhere to go. I mean, even just before we started talking, I got a call from somebody saying, there's this woman from this area, from the defense area, who has just walked who's been thrown out of the house at this time of the night. It's like almost 10 o'clock at night in Karachi. And has been thrown out of her house by her husband, badly bruised, beaten. She rang up this lawyer and she said, where should I go? And, and they are contacting me, and people like me, is there anywhere she can stay for the night, because we can't pick her up in a hotel. And there are no shelter homes. There's only one shelter home in this city. How many women can that take? So, you can help by offering financial aid for shelter homes. Then I have also my ambition or my vision at this point is to set up a cultural center, where there's this shelter home as well, and where there's possibilities for women to come safely to learn these art forms, because there are places that people can go to, but in today's day and age, those places are not safe for young women, because there's so much, it's, as you know, it's such a patriarchal society. There are men hanging around, then the girls who come here, then they are followed, then they're, then they're propositions too, then they sometimes get blackmailed, all sorts of things happen. But those kind of things would be so wonderful if people sitting outside the country can offer support for these kind of acts that we can do while we are here. So, I mean, if they feel that they trust people, those who they feel they can trust, we can send them financial support, we can send them. There's so much, there's a lot that can be done.
Yes. Sheema ji, with the recent political development in Afghanistan, the Taliban establishment, do you see it affecting the social climate in Pakistan, particularly with regard to women in the region?
Yes, I think, unfortunately, what has happened in Afghanistan, what is happening to the women, what is happening to the artists, especially the female artists, even the male artists. I mean, they killed a male folk singer recently. And there was this whole group of female young girls who had started, who had made a female orchestra. They're all under height. So, I mean, Afghanistan, of course, what is happening is terrible. So the people who are the first victims of this kind of fundamentalist process, women and artists. They really attack artists. And I see, and then of course, the religious minorities, the Hazaras, the Shias, they are attacked, and then the transgenders. I mean, we must mention that also, because even then today, there's been an incident of, I think there were 12 transgenders who were badly beaten up in Karachi today. So these are the vulnerable, they always attack the most vulnerable people. So definitely, it's already started happening. It's not that we are waiting for it to happen. It's already started happening. Because, and I think, well, here I'll say it, I mean, I don't know, you may want to edit this out, but I think when the head of our state starts making comments like, when women wear small clothes, they will be raped. I mean, so if it starts from there, where do you expect us to be going? And what the ordinary man on the road, what is he going to say when your prime minister is saying things like that? And I tell you what, since the time he has come out with these statements, there's a change that has happened here. There's more attack on the roads by men on women these last months.
Sheema ji, what message do you have for the young woman of Pakistan?
Yeah, my message would be that remember that you have the power. Remember that the strength lies within you. Grab that strength and decide to change your life. I mean, once you know how strong you are, nothing can stop you. And believe in yourself. Our girls have such low self-esteem. There's such lack of confidence. And we are brought up to believe that, we can't live without a man. We must have a husband. We must have somebody to take care. And so my message to the young girls of Pakistan is, no, you don't need anything. You only need to believe in yourself, find your strength, and push your way forward.
My journey has been a lonely one. But what keeps me going is the hope that future generations will embrace dance not just as an art form, but as a means to achieve peace, humility, and beauty. There's some magic in the performing art. You can change your life. You can change your environment. The power is within you.
Let us be clear that activism is not a fight between men and women. Activism is a fight against a mindset. Activism is not about corrupting the minds of women. Women are nurturers and instinctive homemakers. Giving them dignity and equality does not threaten our social fabric or religious beliefs, but in fact reassures economic and social development and ensures a happy home, a healthy society, and a progressive nation.
अदालत को इस तरह की पिटीशंस को इंटरटेन नहीं करना चाहिए। कहाँ है हमारे हकूक? क्यों हमें मारा जाता है? क्यों हमारे खिलाफ रेप किया जाता है? जब हम कहते हैं मेरा जिस्म मेरी मर्जी, तो हम कहते हैं कि ये जिस्म मेरा है, रेप ना करो। हम अब भी मार्च करेंगे, हम अगले 10 सालों तक मार्च करते रहेंगे, और ये मार्च इतना बड़ा होगा कि पाकिस्तान की आधी आवाम जो है वो सड़कों पे निकलेगी और वो बात करेगी।
रुत बदल डाल अगर फूल ना फलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे। कद्र अब तक तेरी तारीख़ ने जानी ही नहीं, तुझ में शोले भी हैं बस अश्क फ़िशानी ही नहीं। तू हकीकत भी है दिलचस्प कहानी ही नहीं, तेरी हस्ती भी है एक चीज़ जवानी ही नहीं। अपनी तारीख़ का उन्वान बदलना है तुझे, उठ मेरी जान मेरे साथ ही चलना है तुझे।